All right, this is for the TYM T25 with backhoe. You might know that without the backhoe, your toolbox plate is mounted right here on this bar and supports your toolbox here. If you get the backhoe, they move the toolbox down to here on a plate that is provided by the manufacturer on the backhoe. So you still have that plate that goes behind the seat that may have been left behind or was taken off and handed to you or something. Mine was left on there so I could do with whatever I wanted to do with it. So what I did was to recycle it in a sense and turn it into a light mount. This is the plate. It's really beefy. I'm going to walk you through some snaps of how I did that. So first of all, I got these cool lights. They are better and slightly brighter and cheaper on Amazon. These are $11 a fixture, and they're proving to be very nice, good value. So check those out. Here's a picture without the mounts on them, laying on a chair, just so you can see the physical image. Here's the mount. Beefy enough. Actually has D10s up inside to lock the bolt head, but you'll see how that plays out later. I added the O-ring grommet just to give it some turnability, yet not rattle as it's torqued into the welded nut that's on the plate. You can see they're tightened down somewhat, and I put a nylock cap nut on there just to keep it from ever coming apart. So my light bar will be mounted up here. This is the T25 with the backhoe. Obviously, this is where the original toolbox was, and in the newer toolbox mount, the new backhoe, there is a plate here to mount that toolbox. So I took that plate off, and that's what I'm using. How to control those lights? Well, my phone doesn't fit in the wireless charger, so I took that out, and that became my location for my switch mount, switch box that I added, and also became the power supply for this lights. There is a 10 amp circuit feeding this, and so I use that, and it is switched, so we'll see more of that later. So take off the right fender housing, 3 big screws after you remove these 2 lever tops with Phillips screws. And then you'll have access to the bottom of that wireless module here. You'll take out 4 screws, and that's the outers. And then you'll take the 4 inner screws off that actually screw to that housing, and then you'll be able to separate it and cut the plug that feeds this and reconnect that proprietary connector to this. You'll have it for the future. Here's a close-up of that plate with the screws removed and the module removed. This is a big rubber washer that I have in there as a base to plug that hole up and allow drainage still. So this box, just a kit box really, you could find those on Amazon, or you can find something around your house. This was an old D-Link 4-port switch that I gutted and used it for my housing. There's the back plate for it, and you'll see later this is my serviceable access. These are lighted, LED lighted 20 amp DC toggle switches with spring-loaded caps. The caps go down in the on position. Simply close the cap and it turns the switch off. It's a nice feature and cheap. Got those on TYM for probably $2 a piece. So you'll have to do that search. You may find them on Amazon as well, but there'll be a lot more money. Obviously, this is a metal plate that mounts through the ring, so it's pretty durable. I like it. This would be the on position. This would be the off position. Of course, it's not wired up here, so it's not lit. There's the physical location. Let me rotate that around so you can kind of see it from the driver's position looking down. there it is, mounted on the housing. The housing is currently in the up position, not seated, so it kind of looks a little crooked there, but you can see I've got a bolt through into this cavity, and I also have a machine screw into a nylock nut into the forward portion of that cavity to lock it on. And this part just happened to not be there in the housing, but either way you're going to drill 2 or 3 holes up through here, a little bigger than your wire stock, to give you access into that space. And you've got plenty of clearance down here. No issues with tangling with any of the mechanicals down there. Here's another view of that box. Again, as you see here, this removable panel makes it serviceable from the outside of the tractor, and good solid mounting. So up at the light bar, 2 U-clamps. I didn't have any square shoulder U-clamps, so I used the round ones that I had, and I think they were probably 7/16, which passed through these holes nicely. Put a nut and a lock nut on there. I also fed the wiring up through the ROPS from the break point where it folds down, and put a rubber grommet through there to feed. I provided some, I think this is 18 gauge 2-pair in here to use. So I've got a spare pair coiled over in here, and then the other pair I'm using to feed these two. There are no switches on the back of these. So I want to control them from the cockpit, not have to reach up and flip switches on individual lights. So I'll probably mod out the ones that came on it as well. These aren't torqued yet. But they would get torqued down with a rubber grommet as well, so you can angle them as desired. Top-down view. And there's the final wire dressing, just to be able to pull up some of the excess and still have flexibility as they move, as I can rotate them each individually to the right or left and tip them forward or backward. Primary wiring, the initial wire to the wireless charger was here. I added a piece of heat shrink for dressing out later. The white is hot, the black is ground. So make your connections to your switch power at that location, and just dress that heat shrink back over the connectors. I taped this up and then pulled this over the final dress to keep any moisture out. So here's that primary power coming in, and then I do a split to feed the 2 hots of the switches, and then this is the hot output from the switches to the fixtures. This is the ground to the LED. So you got your circuit ground from the fixtures coming back here, so the light will work no matter what when the switch is moved. This particular ground grounds the LED and makes it light up. So if you don't care or don't want the LED to light up, you don't have to do this little ground here as well. Here's the secondary switch for future that I've gone ahead and wired the same way, and the whatever wiring from the second set of fixtures will go here, and then when you flip that switch, those lights will come on. This is currently wired for the LEDs in both systems to come on and power up, and of course that circuit here is switched from the ignition, so when your ignition is off, those lights will go off too and prevent you from killing your battery or forgetting they're on. Another close-up view here. I solder everything. Tape, wire caps, crimp connectors, nah. Too much bumping around. Soldering saves it and keeps it working for many, many years. Here's another view just as it's coming down, and you can see I haven't pulled that dressing over yet, but yeah, works out real well. So here is the off position. So you flip up that little cap, and that's be moving forward as you're sitting on the tractor. Put the switch on, and the LED will come on. And this would be my front switch, which is what I'm operating currently, that operates the overhead lights. This is the future circuit. And there they are on and in their mounted position. You can see I'm using the round beam clamps. Probably about a half an inch larger, maybe, than the ROPS width. I don't remember the exact thickness of that, but you can figure that out. A square shoulder would be a much better fit, but didn't have those. So if you find those, I know Unistrut beam clamps are beefy as all get out. They're bigger than these. You'd have to drill your plate out, but they do have a square shoulder. Look around, you'll find something. So here's the finished outlook. On the right cowling there, if you will. So I've got my big coffee cup holder, my lighter plug, or USBs are actually over on this side, lighter plugs on the other side, and then my switch box with serviceable access panel. And where the wireless phone charger was, I now have room to set my phone in, pack of smokes, lighter, maybe a sandwich. So lots of extra little storage. You can also throw tools in here too, so pretty cool. Another view. You can always, of course, put a different bottom in this if you like, but of course that's just the way I wanted it, and you can do it however you like. There's the ROPS lights up and on, and the LED lit. Another view with both off, and there's my junk from off to the right of the tractor looking back. And there they are up there on the tractor. Can't see the switches there, but I also added these nice hook plates up for the chain connections. They do go through the box steel. This is a tubular top bar, so you'll be drilling 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 holes total to get that worked in if you want to check those out. Here's the light ROPS, and there's a shot of the switches from the cab. So that's it. Appreciate it. Thanks, and let me know in comments if you have any questions.